The first thing you'll come and do is sit down and he starts fiddling with it every time. Have you noticed it?
Yeah. Every single time.
Like, and just out of...
Yeah.
And you have to just move something. Black, you know. And then there's...
The best of both worlds.
And there's...
Yeah, they have to commit to you.
There's humans
I can straddle.
Test.
I told you my mic wasn't fine. Do you know what we said before you came in? Dullah, do you know what we said before you came in? We said Dullah's going to come in and change our levels to the mic.
Test.
How do I still say that? Same.
Yeah, fine. Yeah.
I'm not cutting, yeah?
No.
What was we saying before that whole thing?
Talking about apparently on women's podcasts and they just
Yeah, so I believe that men, because of society or whatever, have been trained. Not trained, but men are better at being publicly more empathetic when speaking about men and women issues than women are, because we've been trained to, like we have to, or else we'll get attacked.
I wouldn't agree that we've been trained to per se.
But yeah.
Because this is what I was saying. Like, how do you reconcile that with the fact that we all agree that women are more in touch with their emotions and all that kind of stuff, and have a bit more emotional intelligence when it comes to issues like this? And how can you then say that we have less emotional intelligence, but we are more able to speak?
I'm speaking purely from when we're speaking publicly. So on a platform such as this.
Oh, have you guys just started?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, on a platform such as this, where
I think it's all perception. Honestly, I'll tell you this. Watching you guys, I agree with the majority of what you say, right? Mm-hmm. But I know if I was watching sisters speaking about these issues as well, automatically, naturally, I would expect to not agree with a lot of things they say.
Why?
Because we're coming from different perspectives. We're guys. At the end of the day, there's that reality.
Just wrong?
But I'm saying to you guys that similarly, some sisters watching you guys would think that you're completely wrong as well.
What if they're wrong
so
again?
you're talking from your perspective as a man watching a...
I'm saying, my perspective as a man watching you guys, because we are from, it's similar. You guys started Jollof after Jummah to reflect our kind of demographic, right? Mm-hmm. So me watching you, because we have a generally similar upbringing compared to everybody else, I'm going to agree with a lot of what you guys say. But if I was watching, three
Northwest
Bengali,
sisters.
what's that?
Northwest sisters. The plug.
I don't understand.
I don't understand.
The sisters, they started a podcast.
I know what you're talking about.
The Instagram.
Sisters, if you wanna watch a podcast that's beneficial.
He loves plugging.
No, because you know what it is.
This is why I give him
This
is why I give him the pop filter.
You know what it is.
That's why I put this on your back.
You know what it is? It's because there's so much trash out there for sisters that I think when you have something that is very good and very beneficial that stands out, you have to plug it. We were just talking the other week about a podcast where there's three or four sisters in a hijab that are sitting next to Ibs talking with a guy, not only with a guy, but a guy that's known for talking crap. Mm-hmm. So, and talking trash. So,
for sure.
With Tess, what was he saying?
So now, it was just in regards to our, it's natural that I would agree with you guys because we're coming from the same demographic or similar demographic. If I was watching three Pakistani brothers, obviously based in Bradford or something, and they're speaking, maybe I won't agree with some of the things that they say, here and there with opinion based. Do you know what I mean? So this is why I say that, if we're looking at sisters, it's too easy just to say that, they're wrong, Fair enough, I might agree that they're wrong, but I have to take into consideration the fact that I'm coming from a different perspective.
Yeah, do you know why I feel like it's not even that I feel like women are always wrong or whatever. It's that I feel that men generally often speak from a perspective or generally speak with both in mind, generally in public. Which means I find it easier generally to agree. And it's not if a woman says something and it's right, of course it's right. I'm not gonna naturally think it's wrong. But it's when people talk with no consideration of another perspective, or talk an opinion as fact, that's when, and it's not like I don't do it. Of course, everyone does it. But that's when I'm more inclined to disagree.
Men have, when it comes to, for example, men on podcasts talking, I think men talk more from even in a marriage, men come with a more, not all the time, but men come
rational
half of the time more with a logical depiction, rather than females who, not all of the time again, but half of the time come with a more emotional response and a more emotional reaction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying.
So of course,
yeah, for sure. But then with what you guys are saying, you need both, right? Because in order for you to be empathetic to the other person's situation or their context, you need both logical and you need emotional.
Yeah, but men can be both emotional
and I'm saying women can also be both logical and emotional, because I'm saying that generally as human beings, nobody who speaks thinks that they're not being logical, or they're not being empathetic, or everyone thinks that they're taking into consideration everything on board.
Generally, wrong, but generally.
Because it might be a case, I might say something and I think I've thought about this issue, in depth. I've now come to this conclusion. You say something, I think actually I didn't think about that.
But it goes back to my original thing.
I think the point I was trying to emphasize was...
It goes back to my original thing that I do think that in public we naturally speak with a more level, with a more considered.
You think you do? Because if I speak to another girl, she'll say that. She'll say the same thing. Guys don't understand.
Perspective's everything, but it's like when a woman. Okay, I guess it depends on what spheres you're in and that type of thing. But I think that when a woman is speaking and she's doing the whole, basically both being a pick me, she's doing pick me, which means that woman speaking from a perspective of a man, and it will be claimed that she's doing it so that men will say, oh yeah, that's the one I want to marry. Like pick me, innit?
Okay.
That's what pick me is, isn't it? Like, pick me. Yeah. So like that I believe that draws more attention to, like, is more like, one in a million. Oh, like look what she's doing. We can point to that. Than a man doing it, because when a man does it, it's just normal. Because this is what men have to do.
When a man does it, they call him a simp.
No, but
she's playing for the crowd.
Simp is another level.
Or even this guy. I don't want to say his name, but it's like a really famous guy who's known for doing these kind of inspirational talks, like kind of bashing men, as it were.
And he got caught cheating.
Yeah, got caught cheating. Yeah. Like people say he's doing the exact same thing. Like he spent years, he built his career just bashing men, saying what women want to hear, and then obviously he's now doing the exact same thing.
That's an extreme. He dedicated his life to that.
But I'm saying a lot of people do that. A lot of men do that.
What's his name? Don't mention his
name. No, don't say it. You have to say
it. I can mention it, but
I don't know.
We don't need to. But basically, there's a guy. Another thing is, I had never heard of this guy until this. But yeah, it's basically it's a guy who basically is some, what is it, relationship.
He gets relationship advice, right? But he's more making time men accountable. It's like making men need to be accountable. They shouldn't cheat. So he's saying good stuff. Don't get me wrong. What he's saying is right. Like he's like preaching. He's like saying, you guys need to take responsibility. You shouldn't cheat. Anytime
it's basically saying men are responsible for everything.
Not to a certain degree, it's based off of what Malik was saying about the pick me type thing. I'm saying both parties do that, and I would actually say I think guys do that more because they're trying to. It's like they're trying to appease themselves to the woman.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that men do that more, so it's less. Oh, look at him doing that.
All right, okay.
Because
they're not doing it for the right reasons.
Naturally, wherever the reasons are, whatever the reasons are, when you're in a public sphere, if a man's doing man perspective, if a woman's doing woman perspective, then it's like, fight the power system. But if a man's doing it, it's not as. Even the men will be like, whoa. Like, you need to calm down, brother. Like, it's 2021, That's what they'll start saying those type of things to you.
It comes down
because it's not common anymore.
I think it comes down to sincerity. Let's talk about men, because I don't know about women. If you're talking about a man that is talking too much on the other side of the female side and blaming men for everything, then most of the time it's either man simping or man's just saying stuff with an ulterior motive. Let's say to be seen in a certain light by the opposite gender. Now, if it's a man that is talking from the perspective of, females are just the devils, and females are responsible for everything that's negative, and females are this and that, then chances are he's talking to appease the man then, to get ratings. And for me, especially, this is why I'm happy that there's there will never ever be someone that will say they agree with 100% of something I'm saying, because that means I'm speaking for them. I don't want to be speaking for anybody. I want to know that what I'm saying is what I believe, and I don't feel like I'm trying to get somebody to
get ratings from one side or whatever.
100%.
Yeah.
You're always going to disagree in it, but it's about understanding that when it comes to opinions anyway, that your opinion may actually be wrong.
Yeah.
You might believe that to be right, because a lot of times everything I say, I believe I'm right. But I try to obviously more time not, but I try to.
What?
Do you know what it is?
This guy has never believed is wrong. He never believed you're wrong.
Do you know what it is? Okay, hold on.
The thing, but I don't blame you. I never speak. Why should I speak? If I think I'm wrong, I will speak.
I was just gonna say exactly. Wait, if I'm saying something, I'm not saying it because I think I'm wrong and I'm trying to prove to you that this is a wrong fact. I think I'm right, so I'm gonna try and defend my point. But if you can't defend your point, how is that my fault?
But it's about which. The thing is, obviously, we're similar in a lot of ways, but you just take it too far in terms of because the lack of sincerity in a lot of what you do. Anyway, I don't. Anyway, let's not do domestics. Let's not do domestics on the podcast. But when it comes to firstly, there's like, I think when you start speaking about extremes, it kind of destroys the whole conversation, because in the extremes, everyone's wrong. Exactly. Everyone on both sides of the extreme was wrong. Yeah. When I'm talking about, when it comes to the middle, I think the middle, what is the middle has been skewed, and I guess we're going to talk more about this later, and I guess this is the point of view that some of these men's rights activists that we're going to touch on later are coming from. That what has become the middle accepted moderate view is skewed in the favour of one, which when it comes to publicly speaking, it's much harder for men to castigate a woman for a view publicly than it is to do vice versa, because it's like it's accepted that it's almost like, you know, you owe them this, so don't say anything.
I think it's similar when you look at it in regards to race as well. It's easier to look at a white person and say, oh, this guy's not racist, but he's prejudiced. But if a black person is doing it to an Indian or or something like that, it's harder to kind of pin them. So I think we need to take into consideration the historical reality of it. It's because from the perspective of women, or they, in their mind, men have been oppressing them for years and years and years, and now they're getting their time to shine.
Which is why you won't find the men, or you shouldn't find the men complaining too loud about this, innit? Because it's
complaining too loud about what?
About not being why, like, for example, there's people that the All Lives Matter people. It's almost like the All Lives Matter thing, where it's like, for example, there's a white guy in Bermondsey who feels that he's mistreated by the police. So I do not think he should start screaming to the black people, you can't moan about police because I get attacked by the police too. Because at the end of the day, when you look at the wider picture, there's a lot more things going on.
So with that metaphor, not metaphor, but with that analogy, it's if the white guy started to do protests about that police are oppressing white people, it might be the case that they are in that little community, but because it's such a minor thing, like in context to what other black people go through or perceive to go through, then it just seems like why are you complaining for? You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's why there's that balance. So fair enough. Yeah. Now it's, as you say, I completely agree with you. It's harder to, if a woman says something or whatnot, and you call them out for it, you might be seen as it's being misogynistic, because that's the zeitgeist of today, innit? It's the norm to be on more skewed towards women's rights issues,
sympathizing
exactly. Which, and you say extremes breed other extremes. So because now it's gone to that element, now you then start to get these men's rights issues and whatnot, where objectively, yes, these things are issues, but when you look at it in the wider context, it's like, come on, bro, like what's going on? But as I say, we'll talk about that.
What do you mean men's rights? What do you mean?
So, remember that documentary I put in the group chat? I know. What's it? Let's intro and then we can structure it. Oh, you want me to do it?
Go ahead.
It's been a while now. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome back to the Jollof After Jummah podcast. Alhamdulillah, we've passed the 30 mark. We keep going. We've got a guest today. special, whatever. Guest today, our brother Teslim, the second half of the Twin Towers, no relation to to the
okay,
they'll
cool,
start
cool,
saying
cool.
that way,
Of course.
yeah, man. Introduce yourself.
Assalamu alaikum. My name's Teslim. It's one of the brothers from the Old Kane Road Masjid. And yeah, alhamdulillah, Jazakallah, thank you for inviting me on.
Is that what you want to say about yourself?
Yeah, what do you want me to say?
What did you do?
What do I do?
In case the kids want to reach out to you.
So I'm a civil engineer. I work on the High Speed Rail 2 project. And yeah, alhamdulillah. That's it.
Who else we got? Who else we got? Don't worry, we'll come out naturally, inshallah. Who else we got? From my right, kind of.
Assalamu alaikum, Abdullah.
Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Ibs.
See, I shouldn't do intro. I'm not good at it anymore.
That's common.
Fumbled.
It's not bad.
6 out of 10.
At least we introed on time.
True, on time. That was the earliest intro for a while. But yeah, man. Obviously today we wanted to touch on certain things which was kind of touched on, which was to do with
The rights of a man.
So I know Abdullah's been very passionate about this subject.
What does yeah, because there's a lot of bollocks in our society.
Bollocks.
God, it's gonna be one of them edit episodes, isn't it?
What makes a real man? What is a man's responsibility as a Muslim man today?
Go on, don't let us know.
No, you start.
It's your topic, and I
don't
have
watch
to
the
start.
documentary. So.
No, we'll touch on documentary after, because that's the documentary
I don't
supplementary.
think that's different. That's different to the rights of a man.
Yeah, because that didn't cover Islamic. Yeah, it was far away from anything Islamic.
Is it the rights of a man, or are we talking about what makes a man?
Both.
Okay, so what do we think makes a man?
I think the rights of a man. We can go on multiple episodes talking about that. But let's focus today on like what a man should be doing.
Okay, to be fair, that should blend nicely, inshallah. So if I'm kicking it off, I think the first thing, obviously as a man, you have to do is keep your house in order Islamically, which means that serving Allah is meant to be, at the core of everything you do, striving for Jannah. And with that in mind, that should have a lot of bearing in a lot of the things you choose to do in your life. So it should have a bearing in your family, who you choose to marry, the kids you have, how you raise your children. It should have a bearing on the job you do and how you spend your money, and it should have a bearing in how you interact with your family in terms of your parents, your siblings, and all walks of life, who your friends are, everything like that.
A man is a shepherd.
Yeah, exactly. And I think where probably we go wrong, or if you look at a man whose Islam is in order, chances are when it comes to the rest of his life, chances are everything should be in order too. There is a case as well that when it comes to being a man, the responsibilities, and this is something maybe we should touch on, the responsibilities of a man can sometimes be the responsibility to Allah sometimes shouldn't be at the detriment of your responsibilities in terms of your family. So when I say that in terms of, so it's very easy to run away to the mosque, for example, and neglect your family, things like that, which is something that, can I put this? I can't remember. It was a talk I heard in Brixton Road Mosque. It was basically, it's like men doing this thing where they use, and is very much using, and disingenuously, if that's the word, using the deen in inverted commas to neglect their families or to run away from their responsibilities at home.
That's a deficiency in his iman, because as a Muslim we're meant to be balanced. We're meant to be like, all of this comes hand in hand. When we say being a good Muslim or running away to the mosque, man, if man's neglecting his duties, then again that's a deficiency in his character, in his akhlaq, in his iman.
Yeah,
People have your wife has rights upon you. Your children have rights upon you.
So I think intrinsically about being a man is that you're naturally having to balance different responsibilities. Like to me, being a man, when they say, "Oh, you're a man," being a man is fulfilling those responsibilities and being, as you say, balanced with all of them. So you've got responsibilities to your mum, to your father, to your children, to your wife, to society, to the masjid. There's so many different things as being a man. Not saying that women don't have responsibilities, but I think more so, as we know, obviously we're responsible for women. Yeah, exactly. The breadth of it is what to me makes you a man, and the fact that you're able to balance it. Yeah. You know, we always hear about stories about, you know, these dads who run away from responsibilities and whatnot, and you know, some people can't hack it, but to me, that's what makes you a man. The fact that you have all these responsibilities. It's not easy. It's not easy, but the fact that you're able to fulfill them. Sorry?
I said to get married, you need to be a man.
This is it. But then when you say be a man, you need to be ready to deal with responsibility. Do you know what I mean? For I wouldn't really say that. Yes, from a woman's perspective, she also needs to be responsible. But I'm saying more so the man. If you're not responsible, to me, I can't see you be a successful father or husband if you're not responsible. You don't take on tasks and you're shying away. You want to run away from here and there. It's like that's not
in your
it's not conducive.
You know, being a daddy, if we're allowed to say.
It's a daddy. Sounded so off, bro.
I have to believe in your experience being a father. I'm gonna cut that because I didn't realize I was gonna sound booky. Being a father, like, and obviously being a husband, being a father, pillar of the community. You know, having a job.
Is that a tall joke? Is that a tall joke?
That was terrible.
Pillar of society. Okay, yeah.
No, you have to explain it.
Did you say pillar?
No, pillar. Like
a column.
A column.
I don't get it.
Don't worry, it's not worth getting. Don't worry. Would you say like so?
You meant pillar was in pillar rice.
No.
There was another joke in there. Anyway, like. Do you think so? Obviously, you became famed as the person, the marriage warner, as the person. I like. Tess was the fearmonger when it came to marriage. Yeah.
This guy's fearmonger.
So would you agree? When it came to getting married, you've been a bit of a fearmonger amongst the younger.
That's your perception.
Why is that?
I said Mr. Pick Your Battles, innit? Yeah.
I wasn't a fearmonger. So what I was doing was trying to give anyone who asked me questions about my experience of
real practical advice.
It's just reality check, like because for me the reason why I was very ardent about doing that in the first couple of months was that I went into marriage thinking that I was ready, but I thought that I knew, and you don't know until that responsibility is put on you. Is all I'm saying. Like I thought I can pay bills, I can do this, I can do that, but once you're in it. It's a it didn't mess me up, but I wasn't ready to be so like, oh wow, this is right.
Remember I said this a couple of episodes when we were talking about marriage.
What? Go on.
About people giving advice that's real and practical.
Yeah.
And when you're in that situation, it's going to be you alone, and no one that was giving you advice was going to help you. What you're saying now is exactly what I was talking about, and it definitely is. Definitely, I said. What am I trying to say? It's advice that's necessary, and if you have those people in your life that aren't going to sell you dreams and are going to tell you the realness of whether you like it or not, those are the kind of people that you need to hold on to.
This guy was in fairyland. He was in fairyland. I was trying to bring him down. Like, bro, just relax.
This is what we're doing.
This guy, he was excited, just beaming all the time. I always be happy, but come on, bro.
Man not rewriting history.
I just said to watch.
Man not rewriting history. Wait, so like, obviously, when it comes to being a man, a large part of that, if we break it down into segments, the whole getting married thing, the whole responsibilities thing.
I wanted to quickly.
Yeah.
I just wanted to correct myself earlier. I said you need to be a man to be married, and that's a correct statement. But I do feel like that's just like a tip of the iceberg. Marriage, it builds you. So I can say for myself, certainly, marriage definitely made me more of what I would say as a man. It's definitely built me. It's definitely built my character more. Whether I've changed 100% or not is TBC, but or TBD, whatever. TBC. Yeah. But yeah, I would definitely say it definitely aids your character. It changes the way you think, and
So would you say that it's so obviously you get a heap more responsibilities, you're responsible for another person, you have another family, all that type of stuff. You in your fear-mongering duties. No, because it's what you was like as in
not fear-mongering. I wasn't fear-mongering. I was giving you reality.
If you want,
you need to be ready.
Yeah,
innit?
but
it's not a bad thing.
I don't. You're seeing that as an attack.
Maybe wasn't your intention. I don't see it as fearmongering either. That's what he wants you to describe it. But even so,
I'm not using it as an
even if it was fearmongering, it's not a bad thing.
But fearmongering means that I'm trying to make you scared to push you away from marriage. I was saying, because that's the thing. On one hand, because if you remember correctly, I was saying that brothers should get married as soon as they can. So that's not fearmongering. I was saying get married as soon as you can, but you need to know because what I was saying, because I'm trying to remember what I actually said to you back then. I said that when a guy, not to you, so just in general.
Give an example of, give like 2 examples of what.
So I was talking more about finance, for instance. It's just
Teslim said you will be poor.
No, as in.
You said you.
I did not say you before.
Let me get. You said you that's buying all these trainers. There's no one's talking to me. You weren't talking to me. You were talking to someone else. It's like you that's buying this one that's buying all these trainers now. When you get married, film. Nothing.
I'm saying that your priorities.
It's not wrong. No, not the thing.
I'm not saying he's wrong.
I'm saying that it's different.
I'm just saying he's wrong.
The statement itself is raw, but I think you need to understand, like. Obviously, what he's saying is not going to be the exact case.
I don't see an issue with him saying that.
I do not begrudge him.
I didn't say you were be poor. Let's rewind. I did not say that you were going to be poor.
Any time you're defending yourself, I'm going to cut it out anyway. So you have to just accept it. I'm the editor, so just accept it. You're in my job.
To be clear, what I said, okay. So, example of what I said now that brothers who, alhamdulillah, have a good job. Maybe living at home, or not having to pay rent and council tax and all that kind of stuff. Generally, you're able to your disposable income is maybe, let's say, 50-60% of your salary. Once you get married, you have responsibilities naturally. So going from being comfortable, having money and being able to do stuff, you're still able to do some things when you get married, but because now 80%, 90% of your cash, of your disposable income is now going towards paying bills. It's like, it's just straight out. Like you're having to, the responsibilities that are there. It's a different mindset. Like I thought I was ready for that. But you get to a point you're thinking, like, man, am I just like a money machine? Literally. But then you have to then think, what's the why? You're doing it for the sake of Allah. Allah has told you that this is your responsibility. So that gives you that to me, at first when it was a bit like, when I started to feel that, that irk in my heart, I had to remind myself to say that actually
it's not her fault. It's Allah's fault.
It's not Allah's fault. I'm saying that you're getting rewards for this. This is what it means to be a man, and that's why I was warning you guys that don't get used to. So imagine a guy is working for 10 years and he's just used to spending money on himself and that's it, no responsibility.
This is why you said
when he gets married, then all he's gonna think about his wife is that his wife is just a cost.
He's
just taking his money. His children are taking his money, and he gets into a midlife crisis and whatnot. Because in his mind, his primary function is to take care of himself. No, as a man, you are there to sacrifice yourself for your family. That's it. That's your responsibility.
That's your responsibility.
And it's one of the many things that differentiates a believer from a disbeliever. That's the way disbelievers think. They think, I'm going to have children. I'm going to be financially ruined. I'm going to have a wife, cash cow, all of this nonsense. We don't think like that.
They're thinking primarily in the worldly life.
And when we do stuff for our family, we shouldn't be thinking about it because we should know that this is for the sake of Allah. This is not. I'm not doing this for you. I'm not expecting a thank you. I'm not expecting flowers. I'm not doing this for you.
So it's obvious, probably obvious answer, but it's worth asking the question: how does one avoid resentment towards family and the missus, and practically? So,
over money
resentment over
responsibilities.
Because if I'm thinking of brothers listening to the podcast, for example, who are not married and of age or whatever, and maybe have been eligible for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And we know why, like the obvious reasons why they would say don't get married. For example, remember bro said in the chat that I can't understand why, what did he say? A brother or a man under 25, or remember there was a line, would want to get married. Basically, there is no benefit. That's the narrative in it. That for
getting married young.
And I don't think
that's the narrative.
No, I know that's not what we're saying, but that kind of lends itself a bit to the non-Muslim narrative of
you need to be 35.
and what's becoming the kind of African narrative or traditional narrative back home is that for the boys,
So your royals.
so you're all that. Why? How does one avoid? Because to me, all of these narratives build resentment will lead to a man getting married and becoming resentful to his family.
Yeah, of course.
And jealous of his friends that are still not married and having fun. How does one avoid that resentment?
As you say,
or if he's got it, how does he come out of that state?
Because so I'll start off by saying that generally, if we weren't Muslim, I don't think any of us would have been married early, right? It's safe to say that if we were following the route of a typical non-Muslim our age in London, non-believers,
statistically, we wouldn't be married.
Exactly. Yeah. So generally, it's just to know your why. Start with the why. The reason why we are looking to get married or to avoiding certain things is because of Allah. So to feel resentment. So if as you say, if you're feeling resentment, which I wasn't feeling resentment, but I was feeling a bit like it was like a dagger in the heart. Like,
that's the extremism. The extremism.
I'm saying that you need to remember that it's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who has told you to do this. The reason why, it's from Allah. So for you to feel resentment, you're feeling resentment for a responsibility that Allah has bestowed upon you. Do you know what I mean? 100%. So it's the same as if we're talking about a sister who's feeling if it's difficult for her to go out with hijab and whatnot, and she's feeling that I'm not gonna get this opportunity here or that opportunity there, or a guy that has to wait, that has to keep his beard. It's the why. There might be some things that might hurt you. Yeah, for sure. You are going to be somewhat restricted in terms of your finance compared to your counterpart who isn't married. Of course, he might be able to go to Bali, to go to this, go to that, spend money on whatever he likes. Yeah, you might not be able to do that, but. Who says that your life is that you deserve that? Nah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you a family, but just by you having a family and taking care of them, you're getting rewards. So, from that perspective, I'll say go back to the why. There's nothing else that will really help you, to be honest. That you have to go back to the why. Unless all you see, because all the money, all the finances, and all that kind of stuff really comes from the father. If you don't think in terms of why you're doing what you're doing and it being an act of worship, you will literally just feel like a bank. Or that's all you think, and you will definitely start to resent your children and your wife. And then you get midlife crisis. You buy this sports car, or you guys do your own thing. I'm not trying to. Literally, I'm shots, man. It's a stereotype. You know the stereotype. Okay, hold on. You know the stereotype, right?
I don't know. I ain't heard that one.
There's a stereotype of the guy.
I'm editing out the explanation anyway.
There's a certain type of cars. There's certain type
Z4,
of cars.
the
Z4, Porsche Boxster. Them midlife crisis cars. So get me.
It's your midlife anyway. So
shut up. And okay, and quickly on how can our wives and sisters aid the men in not having this resentment, or is it just a completely brothers' internal issue that they need to sort out themselves?
I think it's brothers.
Primarily, it's brothers. Like you can't.
I think it's important to know yourself as well. I think it's important to know yourself as a person. It's easy to pocket watch and to look at other people and to think that those are the kind of things that, I guess, like you said, that your counterparts, because they're doing it, that you feel like that maybe you're missing out on because you're not doing it yourself as well. But Allah will test people in different ways. For some people, money won't be an issue at all, but marriage will be a nightmare. For others, marriage will be a walk in the park, but money will be their vice in life, innit? So yeah, it's just I think like I said again, it's just important to know yourself and know that I guess also it's kind of like recognize your blessings. Like maybe that guy's doing what am I trying to say? Maybe he's doing baby boy and he's going all over the globe because he can't get married. Maybe he's looking for what you have and he can't find it. So just recognizing your blessings and knowing yourself as a man and just being grateful. Yeah.
Well, to answer your question though, for sure, I think we all agree that it's primarily an internal issue with the men.
Yeah.
But
if a man,
for the sisters that are listening,
If your sister wakes up every morning and goes,
exactly. This is what I say. Like, there needs to be the element of gratitude as well. So just because you can't say, because he's fulfilling his duty as a man, that I'm not going to be grateful to him. Like you have to be grateful to your husband. Similar to your wife. If your wife is doing stuff for you, which our wives do a lot of stuff for us, we're going to say, but it's a job to maintain the household and to obey me at all times and all that kind of stuff. Now, if she is obeying, if she like, she wants to go somewhere and she asks for your permission and you say no, but she takes it and she's like, actually, yeah, cool. She doesn't argue with you, all that kind of stuff. You can't then say, because that's my right upon you to tell you for you to obey me, that you don't show an element of, okay, because she could have argued back, and not in a disrespectful way, but she could have, showed she didn't need to take it so gracefully. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't know, we're all human beings. So sorry. This is what I'm saying, but you need to be able to show gratitude. She's supposed just because she's supposed to do something doesn't mean that
she's going to.
It doesn't mean that when she does it that you don't show gratitude. Exactly.
She's human in that, but obviously, again, like we mentioned, it comes back to character and the woman you marry and whatnot. You're as a Muslim wife, like, you are supposed to obey your husband. Unless he says something that
it's against the deen.
It is against the deen, strays you from the path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, nobody will argue with that. So I'm saying on the other foot, it's your responsibility to pay for bills and take care of all that kind of stuff.
100%.
But you still want, from a human perspective, you still want your wife to be grateful for that. No.
You wouldn't want the wife to say,
okay,
you're supposed to.
Where's the rent? Okay, money for shopping. Like, my clothes are shabby now. Give me money for clothes. You know what I mean?
And that comes back to character, number one. Number two, just want to highlight again, don't expect that though. Yeah,
don't expect it. But
want it.
For conducive marriage, you need it.
If it doesn't come, occasionally, we're human.
I would expect it from a good person.
Yeah. But we're human, innit? Like, if your wife's gonna slip up,
don't live and die by it.
She might be distracted or whatnot, and she might not show gratitude. Don't throw a thing.
Make an issue because she didn't show gratitude.
Yeah, agreed.
And I think one thing that's important as well is that, which wasn't said from the question answered, is there like a need for, does where we live, the times we live, all that type of stuff, should that have an impact on the way we show gratitude and the way we receive certain rights?
Say that again.
So for example, a man, for example, let's use the woman example, yeah? So the one about going out and the permission, all that type of stuff. So do we need to be aware of modern life? So the fact that we live in generally a society where women can just do as they please, the same way the men can do as they please in terms of going out, when you go out with, who you go out with, where you travel to. And we live in a society where there is more of an emphasis on splitting everything 50-50 in terms of bills and all that type of stuff. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that it's no doubt that the reason that narratives, or the reason that, for example, brothers in this day and age are probably less likely to get married, for example, is going to be because of the impact of modern society in everything.
Then he's not ready to get married.
No, but it
shouldn't be.
But the thing is, if you say Abdullah, if you was in Gambia, you may have got married 3 years earlier, even earlier than you did now. Do you get what I'm saying? So there's an impact of society on all of us. Yeah. So I'm saying, does that society that we live in, should that have an impact in how we communicate or how we receive things and how we deliver things?
100%.
I think naturally it's going to have an impact 100%. Because with every society there's good parts of society and there's bad parts of society. However, saying that now, as Muslims, there's a lot of nonsense in our society that, like you mentioned, 50-50. There are men that are now going to marriage meetings demanding 50-50. Like, are you sick?
Demanding,
yeah.
That's my
saying that, putting that out there, saying, so what, 50-50? Yeah? Are you not a man?
Yeah.
If she puts it forward and then you're like, okay, this would help, that's different from going to a marriage meeting and saying, I want to go half some bills. I want to go half on this.
It's still sticky. It's still sticky though.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
No, I'm still, even if she puts it forward, that's
Yeah, it's just, there's a way you have to.
I'm just thinking.
I'll
From,
be-
I'm just
I'll
thinking
just
from the
think-
mindset
yeah,
of
I know,
someone
I know.
who
I know.
prefers that.
I'll just be thinking, why? What are you up to? Who
To,
sent you?
to answer the question though, it's I think it will be foolish not to take into consideration the context because it's. And this is why when it comes to things that are subjective, you need to take into consideration the context. There's certain things that in Nigeria will be seen as. So if you do something right, it will be seen as, oh, this is how you show gratitude. This is how you show you love your wife. This is how you show you care for your wife, and you do that in Nigeria. But it might not play. It might not kind of work in the UK. And if you try to use Nigerian rules for a UK wife, she'll be like, this guy doesn't love me. So it's this whole not love languages, but in relation to that, there's also that context of this is how you show love. So, for instance, the hadith about the Prophet ﷺ, where he drank something from a container, and then he turned it to, when I heard that, I was like, oh, that sounds sweet, but it wouldn't originally initially come to me as that's romantic. Do you know what I mean? But in that context, that is a romantic gesture. So do you know what I mean? So I'm saying, okay, so or buying flowers for your wife. Was it a thing to buy flowers for your wife in the back in the day?
In the desert.
Can you say that?
Sorry?
What the actual?
So the hadith was basically the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam drinking milk from a cup and just using ingenuity to kind of notice that his wife is watching, and because of that, turning it to his wife had a drink from a cup. Noticed that his wife is watching, turned it to where she put her lips on the cup and drank from that, knowing that she's watching.
So where the saliva was, essentially, that's that intimacy, right? But so I'm saying that okay, cool. So you read that and I say, subhanAllah, mashallah, this is excellent. This is the adab that you show towards your wife, right? But initially, before reading that, from my context, that's not necessarily a romantic thing in our context. That's why I say buying flowers and whatnot is, 1,000 years ago, it would be like, why are you giving me dead flowers for? Like, it doesn't mean anything. But now we know that it's symbolic, so you can't then say that, no, I'm not going to take consideration my context. Only what I've read in the books that are romantic, that's what I'm going to do for my wife. So I would say it would be foolish for anyone not to take into consideration the context when dealing with just like the soft skills aspects of dealing with, demanding your rights, because it's the way you demand your rights and fulfilling your responsibilities as well.
The reason I say it is because just maybe in an attempt to shun and turn away from modern culture, people can fall into the trap of not giving it any mind,
Of course.
which doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's not zero sum game. So
because you do it,
baby out with the bathwater,
and because you do it, for example, because you do it doesn't mean that your wife does it, for example, or your children do it, for example. So because you shun away from modern culture and do not fall into any of the vices, and you just ignore it and it has no bearing on you, doesn't mean that it doesn't have a bearing on other people. But then there's the extreme, and the extreme is falling into, that's when you start, doing Valentine's Day, and
of course
that's the extreme. You know what I mean? So there's a it's not really a balance. There's a line,
and that's the thing. And stuff like that, the impact of not. So, for instance, obviously, we shouldn't be celebrating Valentine's Day. Obviously, we all agree with that. But the impact of you not. Let's say your wife wants to celebrate it, or she's seeing everybody else getting flowers and whatnot, and you're not doing anything. Fair enough. She should understand that we shouldn't celebrate it. But if you're already not a romantic guy, you're not doing anything that's above and beyond to show that you love her and whatnot, that is gonna hit even double whammy.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Which
So
is
it's a case of it's like Mother's Day. I haven't celebrated Mother's Day before in my life, and it's not something that that we expect. But let's say I was neglectful towards my mom, and we were neglectful towards my mom, in general. When Mother's Day comes around and she sees other people getting love and whatnot, that's gonna hit her more. Whereas if I had showed love to my mom consistently, and she knows that her children love her, when Mother's Day comes, she's like, I don't need that. Do you know what I mean? So there's also that context that,
and there's no point completely ignoring that, because you're just gonna kind of
there's emotional intelligence in that.
Yeah, there's emotional intelligence.
It's like you explain on both sides. Even Father's Day. Let's say, for instance, inshallah, all of us will be fathers, and your children or your mom or your wife doesn't arrange for any Father's Day thing for you. naturally we know we don't celebrate Father's Day, but if we see all the fathers getting, you know, kudos, getting this, getting that, and then and you know that you don't get any gratitude, no service at all.
Yesterday's rice.
Yeah, it's just like
No.
it's like what, one chicken? Yeah, it's like but yeah, so it will hit more, even though it shouldn't hit you, it shouldn't hurt
it
you.
won't hit.
But there's a context.
Depends on the person, and depends on the person.
It shouldn't hit you for
That's
sure.
society.
But
Again,
it's
all these days we're mentioning their society. We're Muslims. We don't live according to society.
But then we're affected by the society. But we're not devoid of society.
You can't say that.
We're not devoid.
You can't say we shouldn't be affected by society.
We are.
We are.
Yeah. It's
Live in society.
it's culture in it. So you don't throw away
But
all
that's
culture.
That's religion.
No, I'm saying culture wise. So unless the culture unless the culture, you know, goes in complete opposite to the religion, that's where you disregard it. But if it has not all culture, not all Yoruba
Not all
culture.
yeah, but
I'm saying
these specific days that we're talking about, Valentine's Day.
so. Yeah, Valentine's Day particularly. Yeah,
and
fair
in regards
enough.
to not being.
Okay, so for instance, culture wise, I'll give you your wife flowers. Give your wife flowers. Would you consider that as that's part of this? 21st century. I'm not going to do it because 1,000 years ago people.
I'm
were
not
doing
going
it.
to do it, but yeah, it comes from 21st century.
No, but would you say I'm not going to do it because giving flowers is a symbolic gesture that
I'm not
is.
gonna do it.
This is
But
what I'm
obviously,
saying. So
doing
stuff like that, where you're allowed to, then obviously you to say that you're going to be devoid of context is. I know what people are trying to do. Fair enough. You don't want to be affected by all the nonsense that we see in this world. For sure, we need to be very careful. But then you need to be balanced, because if you're not balanced, you go to the other extreme.
Being balanced is understanding where things come from, and choosing not to be upon that because of where it comes from. I think at the end of the day, we need to ask ourselves where a lot of these cultures in society come from.
So this
it's not from
we're almost talking about two separate. So for example, let's be practical. So
quickly, one second. And just to add to your point in regards to the example you gave of a man not being romantic, whatnot, that's neglectful, because at the end of the day, you're entering a marriage. You're a man. You're meant to think about things from the perspective of your wife. You can't. That's neglectful. You can't neglect your wife. You're meant to be. At the end of the day, who do we look to as our main number one example for you to follow in regards to being a man? It's the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if you go a level down, the Sahaba, the Salaf. So how did they treat their wives? That's how we treat our wives. So in regards to not treating your wife in a certain
but they treated their wives in line with customs.
I was just gonna say kindness back then
is different. Yeah,
not different. I'm saying so it will manifest in a different way. Do you know what I mean? So this is why I give that context. You have to take into consideration the context. For sure, be good to your wife. But when you say be good to your wife, that's subjective. Even in the way we live now, being good to your wife in Nigeria might be completely different to being good to your wife in Estonia or Russia. Do you know what I mean? So you have to be able to take that into consideration. You can't just say, nah, it's going to be this line unless I do this particular thing.
At the end of the day, I hear what you're saying. We live in a culture, and as long as, just to round it off and let Abdul Malik say what he's going to say, as long as the culture or the society that we're practicing, there's a commercial outside. As long as there's a culture or society that is positive that we can follow, it doesn't contradict what we're practicing as Muslims. It's fine.
I want to chuck a scenario, because this there's no reason to pretend that this is a completely unrealistic scenario, because it could very easily be possible. So let's say all four of us are married, alhamdulillah. So whether, as we know, iman fluctuates, that's a well-known established fact, and that's there in that's documented. So like, let's say for whatever reason, 1 year your wife decides that Valentine's Day she thinks, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we just did like a little something just to commemorate the day, or not commemorate the day, but like you can buy me flowers. Or she might even say, okay, we'll not do something, but can we go out for dinner the day after, so it's not on Valentine's Day, something like that. That how do you deal with that?
So I'll make it a point that we're not celebrating Valentine's Day, and if you want to go for dinner, but it's clear this has nothing to do with Valentine's Day. We can go at the beginning of February, end of February. We can even go in March, but it's about intentionality. So, for instance, let's say you didn't know it's Valentine's Day, and you go out for they're doing a deal in a good restaurant that you like. It's Valentine's Day themed. Would you then say, oh, I'm not gonna take the 50% off, thing that deal that they're doing because I don't want to be seen as celebrating Valentine's Day? you should know in your heart. Genuinely, you shouldn't. In general, just for show. So that in case I see you in a restaurant, I'm thinking, oh, look, the man can celebrate Valentine's Day. I guess I can as well. So obviously, there's that. This is it. There's that. But generally, it's intention in it. If you're not intending to celebrate it, then you're not celebrating it. But you should be aware of what people of what optics can be like. But as I say, it shouldn't even be linked to Valentine's Day. It's like she should come to me and say, or she wants to go out. Okay, I want to go out for dinner, as opposed to, it's Valentine's Day. I know we don't celebrate it, but can we go out? When you're already putting that context, you're already thinking in aligned Valentine's Day.
Why is it that you want to go the day after? Why do you want to? Why not? Why, even if it was a week after? Why do you? The fact that you thought of going to dinner just because everyone else is on a certain day. The intention is to go out and do something because still because of a specific event, if that can make sense. Just to add to.
So how'd you do with it though? What did you say?
You just say what we just said now. It's like,
no, I'm saying. Okay. I'm asking.
I'll just suggest another thing to do. Just come in
and
do something else.
like. I'm joking. But the point I'm trying to drive at anyway.
Sorry, just one key point I want to make.
And Ibs hasn't answered as well.
Ibs barely speaking, but yeah. Quickly.
The shots did.
What? Oh no. I like it. Come on. What was I gonna say? Yeah, basically, when it comes to getting married.
Well, go for you, man.
Now, Tess is just, he's got his wooden spoon. It's in his back pocket.
There's a camera there, isn't
it?
When it comes to getting married, I feel like this is something you must raise, as in, from the beginning. You should know whether your wife is the type of person that would want to.
It might sound, remember I said, Iman fluctuates, and it changes. So she could, after 10 years, she could change.
Yeah, she could change, but it's highly unlikely.
It's not.
It's extremely unlikely.
It's not.
Listen, when you go to a marriage meeting, you ask certain questions. You know whether.
Yeah, but the marriage meetings the answers when you're 18 and when you're 28, 2 kids down.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? It's different.
Yeah, but if you're living in a certain household where something's not celebrated and something like that is not even tolerated, what's the likelihood of?
So maybe the years of neglect from the husband has driven her to feel.
That shouldn't be happening.
We're not saying that it should happen. We're saying
the scenario was made with
the scenario. It shouldn't happen. You're right. 100% right. It shouldn't happen. But I'm saying in that scenario, what would you do? And obviously you said that you just try and do something else, isn't it? So simple as that.
But the point I'm trying to drive at is basically you can't just say you could, but I don't think it's helpful to just say no.
Of course, it's emotional intelligence, isn't it?
Which but that's what I'm saying. That you need, but you're saying no is basically accepting that modern society has given me an issue that needs to be addressed, not ignored. Because that you doing something, you saying let's do something else, or it triggering you to maybe think, I need to be a nicer person. Yeah. Is you protecting yourself from the influences that you've accepted are happening because of modern society.
It shouldn't be a catalyst, as you say. It shouldn't be the reason for you then going to doing something else.
Yeah.
But that's down to, as what Abdullah said, that if you're not neglecting your wife anyway, that inshallah she wouldn't feel that need to want to do it.
Yeah.
So if you're having date night, every single month or whatnot, and let me say that, so because I'm not to that standard anyway. But if you
why not?
Inshallah.
Why not?
Why not?
You haven't answered.
Moving on. If you're not to so it's that aspect in it. You don't want to, as you say, be neglectful to your wife. But even saying that statement, that's subjective. It's still subjective. So you could be married to, not married to two people, but like if you're married to person A or person B, you did one thing for person A and she feels like, this guy is so romantic. You did everything for person B and thinks this guy's not romantic at all. And that's down to maybe love languages and all that kind of stuff, and how they perceive how you're treating them and all that kind of stuff. So, it's what it is.
Ibs.
You give a perfect answer.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Why are you looking at me like, alright, cool. Alright, let's move on.
Alright, let's let that simmer for a bit.
Let's move on. So, even if it's simmered, I'll cut the simmer. But what was it? Yeah. So, be a Tess. Or Tess and his bro and Tao and me were talking a bit about this documentary which came out, and it basically addressed Tess, you can feel free to take over if I'm saying something a bit wrong. It essentially addressed the men's rights MRA, men's rights.
Yeah, men's rights activism.
Yeah, men's rights activism, which appears to be born directly or born out of what they would claim is a necessity to defend against feminism or modern feminism. And it's essentially a group, and in the documentary, what's interesting about it is that it's a feminist who has taken themselves not out of feminism, but out of that kind of, sphere to go and explore the men's rights movement. And what it did was it threw up a lot of questions with regards to her beliefs and her core beliefs in feminism. And it's in America, it's like 2016 or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that's interesting about it is that, or if I cover just to summarize men's rights activism, a lot of their kind of ideals and points are based around the need to protect men from what society has done, which is kind of demonize men,
Oppress them.
Oppress men as a reaction to the claim that men were oppressing women.
Not only that, it's just society's making the role of a man insignificant.
Which is
basically saying that
probably one of their
having
points.
a man in a household,
One of the aspects.
It's now it's gone from having a man who leads the household to having the luxury of a man, or the man not being a necessity.
So some of their concerns, for example, just to kind of give some context, were the fact that statistically there's a need to protect men because of the fact that there are more men in prison. There are higher jail sentences for men for doing the same crime. The college dropout rate for men is a lot. Well, I think it was 60%. I think it was 65% or something at the time. Men are less likely to see a doctor. From their stats, 80% of suicides were men. Men are less likely to have health insurance. Men are less likely to have any success in family court. Men are more likely to be on, children are more likely to be on psychotherapy, essentially, some like medication to calm them down. So like autism treatment. There's more men on more boys on the autism spectrum than girls are diagnosed. That the rate of homelessness for men is a lot higher than it is for women. Conscription to the army, typically historically has always been men. More men, that 99% or 99.999% of deaths at war are men.
Man, I can't lie.
No, but okay, cool. So this is
we're way too obsessed with this whole men versus women narrative, and everyone is picking their vices and saying this is why we need to have this sort of institution to protect us because we're less fortunate in this area, and women will pick up and say we're less fortunate in this area, and white men will say this, and black women. It's annoying, man.
it's a game of victimhood.
It's jarring.
It's a game of victimhood, and it's literally who is the bigger victim than anybody else.
Yes.
I want to be the victim. So once you get victimhood, you get the moral high ground, and then you can start to point fingers and all that kind of stuff.
So feminism. If we take feminism, I think generally we'd all okay. What is your opinion of feminism, or what do you see feminism as? I'll start with the guest. What do you see feminism as, and what is your opinion of whatever that is?
So generally, obviously, everyone may have a different opinion.
And are you a feminist? That's my third question.
I wouldn't call myself a feminist. No.
Yeah.
So for my understanding of feminism it's an aim towards eroding the differences between what a man can do and what a woman can do, and trying to make things equal in all spheres.
Yes.
And on the surface, it's like, oh, should people be equal? Of course, people should be equal, right? Like in general, if you go to a rational human being, they'll say everyone should be equal. But what they want to do, what feminism has done, is that it's created this notion that at every single point and turn, men are equal, are equal to women, and women are equal to men. Like there's no difference, and that is absurd. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Because in reality, then you start to get all these differences and whatnot. So if I now say, all the stats that you made right there, a man can make the claim that we live in a feministic society and men are being oppressed. All the years of 100,000 years ago and whatnot of men dying in wars is because women have coerced their men to go and fight wars, to go and die. Do you know what I mean? So you can create any rhetoric you want, and this is the issue.
And another thing that was not mentioned is that in society there are a lot of double standards. There are a lot of ways. There are a lot of areas in life in society where men have the upper hand, and there are a lot of places in society where women have the upper hand. So in regards to talking about, let's just say the one about prison, men going to prison. How many scenarios, countless scenarios, do you see in the media where there's a crime committed, and regardless of race, you see a situation where a woman's in hot water and she gets maybe a suspended sentence or community service, where if it was a man, you're talking multiple years. Yeah. Look at paedophilia. How many teachers do you see that are a woman in positions taking advantage of men or younger men or younger boys, where
most of the cases I've heard of, like,
don't even go to prison. Where if it's a man, and not that I'm condoning it at all.
Yeah, my school has happened.
Right, man.
Yeah.
What happened?
No, I just said most of the cases I've heard of, like,
seducing your teachers,
paedophilia and that type of thing happened in boys, students, and girl teachers.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's besides the point. You know, it's I don't want to get into the tit for tat thing.
Yeah, and I say, you said it in the intro to it as well. The men's right movement essentially is a reaction to feminism, and on the surface, they're using the exact same paradigm that the feminists are using. So the feminists will bring you all these stats, and they'll say, and therefore, we live in a misogynistic society, and men are oppressing women. We could do. They're doing the exact same thing that the.
It's like a parody. It's like a parody.
Yeah, it's like a parody, but then but from their paradigm, it's valid. It's valid because if I wasn't a Muslim and I subscribe to that paradigm that things should be equal, I'll say that's cool. That what they've said is actually correct from their paradigm. The issue being is that both paradigms are trying to negate the different. They try to completely ignore the fact that men and women are not the same. Yeah. They're not the same. Which is see in the
something's bothering me, man. I need to say this. I wasn't excusing paedophilia amongst men. I wasn't making excuses for them. We know. Anyone that abuses children should be shot.
We know. We know what you were saying.
I just want to put that out there where my stance is. Anyway.
What with the men's rights activists, it's funny because I think we were talking about before in the like the documentary, it started off by giving us the most extreme version of the men's rights activists there. So there was things about, like, you know, when is it okay to hit your wife and
punch your wife in the face,
punch your wife in the face day and stuff like stupidness like that. Yeah. But then what's funny is that when it got into the meat of the documentary and you start hearing all the cases, I think one that not resonated with me, but one that really I think was quite staunch was, you know, the Boko Haram one.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
So I'll just explain it. Yeah. So it was essentially, there's a woman who's a men's rights activist. Yeah, and she made the point. So Boko Haram, the terror, the group, the extremist group, whatever you want to call them, clowns. They obviously everybody knows about, you know, the whole bring back our girls thing that happened. Was it 3-4 years ago, or whatever? Where they 10
years ago, maybe.
Was it 10 years ago?
It was a while ago.
Yeah, where they kidnapped. It was Obama days, wasn't it? Yeah.
Exactly.
So where they kidnapped a bunch of schoolgirls from a school and etc. And that raised a lot of attention. That shone a lot of light on Boko Haram, and caused, you know, a lot of international outrage, a lot of international aid, investment. People are doing stuff, and then she made the point that Boko Haram, you could almost say that they were chivalrous in a way, because before that, doing that, they'd killed how many men. When they went to schools, they said, this is her words, I can't verify this is true. They told, essentially, they went to school, told all the girls, go leave school, go and get married and raise children, and under Allah, that's what they said, and then burn all the boys alive. And they burnt all the boys alive. So they killed all the boys and then told all the girls, go and be a wife somewhere. Most of their attacks,
which is chivalrous, but
I know, but this, I guess she was, she was being, it was irony, I guess. So, and what shone light on this whole thing was when they kidnapped girls, it triggered everybody to say that if everybody had seen, go on,
bro. So on that note, what she's done there is that this is what feminists always do as well. They use anecdotal evidence in order to make their wider point. So the Bring Back Our Girls thing was literally, that in itself was very special. Like, women get, abducted and that kind of stuff all the time in those regions, right? Yeah. But that in particular, for some reason, whatever reason was, it built like a lot of momentum. But generally, it's not a fitra. Generally, if we see a guy being attacked versus a woman being attacked, is to me, I call that fitter anyway. Like naturally, you feel, I wanna protect the woman. So this is so even her that she's now this men's rights activist. She is trying to ignore that. Okay, how come men and women are treated different? It's the same. If 100 girls were abducted, I will feel, rightfully or wrongfully, I'll feel more sadness and more in my heart than if it was 100 boys. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, well, no, the boys can take care of themselves, but it's a bigger impact if it's the women, because do you know what I mean? Or if it's the girls.
And I get, and what I liked about this, I get, and and when I say not hit with me, but what I find funny about it is the fact that I feel with the modern, especially the modern radical feminist narrative, it's so clearly, it's so stupid, it's so wildly far from the point and from humanity and from living in the real living in the real
reality
world, that it took something like this. So these male rights activists, the thing about them is, if we can not sympathize with them, but I guess kind of sympathize with it a bit, or with their points and is because of the fact that they are the, what's the word? They are the
sympathize with who? Feminists?
No, not some feminists. The cases in in the male rights activists, so all of their anecdotal evidence, especially the personal ones, you can sympathize with it. Is because of the fact that
sounds like hogwash as well.
No, it's
when can you beat a woman?
No, not that bit. I'm talking about when they start mentioning their cases. Like, for example, the man who his wife basically decided that I'm gonna have a kid to blackmail. If this is true, gonna have a kid to blackmail you, and
again, double standards in society, and she can do that.
Yeah,
legally, she can.
Exactly. And what I'm saying is, the reason you can sympathize with these things and in isolation is because of the fact that it's not the mainstream anymore. But I guess in 100 years, if these male rights activists became the mainstream and then we started hearing these extreme feminists again, suddenly we'd start to feel sorry for them.
No, but then, for instance, if a feminist, brings up a story about how a guy oppressed his wife and would beat her up and beat up the children and whatnot, I can sympathize with that. Those cases that's injustice. Just because she's a feminist saying it doesn't mean that that's not injustice. So these cases that you're talking about.
Sorry, let me rephrase that. When they're dressed up as, this is my point of view, and nobody is even going to pay me attention. If I mention this, I'm going to be attacked because as an anti-woman person, which is I guess the point.
Yeah, but
they weren't saying that nobody sympathizes with my point in isolation. What they're saying is that if I raise this out as a real issue, that people are going to tell me that all I'm doing is being a woman hater and I'm just trying to destroy the family.
It depends on how you put across your issue. So the guy whose wife blackmailed him and did this and did that, and he started to I think they had they got divorced. When I think he had visitation rights, and the boy used to come to his house like three times a week, and the boy was getting a bit overweight. So the father decided I was going to try and
So why are you looking at me?
No, I'm trying to explain.
So this one was actually Pete. So
I felt sorry for this guy.
I felt sorry for this guy. So basically, imagine he's a man and he's married to a woman, and he said, I don't want to have children with this woman because this woman has anger issues, and she's.
Then why did you marry her?
She's developed. Okay, let's give him benefit of the doubt. While they were married, she's developed these anger issues, and it made him say, right, for now, I'm not gonna have a child with you because you're not a fit state to be a mother. You're gonna use this child to be to blackmail me, whatever. And he was also, I forgot what he did. He was like an author, or he was a campaigner for women tricking men or something. So anyway, he basically told his wife through his work indirectly ways that how he could be blackmailed. So basically, in the end, she somehow tricked. I'm assuming that. I think she stopped taking a pill, or she pierced the hole in the condom, one of the two or whatever. And she basically got herself pregnant. Yeah. And then she started to use this child as a way to blackmail him, essentially. And he wanted a divorce. And she obviously, naturally, let me finish, bro. Naturally,
now he wants a divorce.
Wait, hold on.
He didn't get a divorce time ago when he said he don't want children with this woman.
Yeah, but we don't know their whole life. So when we don't know their whole life, we can't vouch for everything, innit? Yeah, so maybe he stayed with her because she needed help, mental help, and he was committed to her. Marriage commitment, innit?
Well, maybe he loves doing it.
Exactly. So you can't just attack man for staying. So yeah, I'm finishing the story. So he had visitation rights, and one of the things and she was trying to stop him from seeing the child because she wanted to punish him for divorcing her. So he claims. So one of the things she did was she made sure that she wanted to make sure the child was overweight because her side of the family was overweight and his side of the family was quite slim, and she wanted the son to resonate with her side of the family. So she did stuff like, when we're at my house, you know, you don't have to go to bed early, you can just watch TV, we make brownies, and he found that the child seemed to gain weight every time. So he said he knew his son looked up to him and did stuff. So if he was shaving, the son would act like he was shaving as well. So he started weighing himself every day and writing down his weight. And so his son followed him and copied him. And he found that he had the evidence to show that when he, and also, the child also, when it had the doctor, like GP or whatever, would complain that he was getting bullied because he was overweight, and he didn't like that it was overweight. He thought it was going to affect his health. So he didn't like being overweight. And he also had like a diary of his weight every day. And it showed that when he was with his mum, he was gaining weight. And when he came back home, he lost weight. And he also had a physician's report, a doctor's report saying that the child doesn't like being overweight. The child is getting bullied for being overweight, blah, blah, blah. And then when he presented this to the court, the judge said, the way to solve this is that you're not allowed to weigh the child anymore.
See what I mean?
So when you heard that stuff, yeah,
but I'm saying, okay, no. So obviously it's a ridiculous story. But the issue, what they try to do in that documentary is that they use is anecdotal evidence. So they try to make that's the norm. This is what's happening. This is what's happening all the time. It's nonsense. Yeah, exactly.
But the fact that
if we're to discuss the rights, if we're to discuss the rights of a man in future on this podcast, I feel like it's more beneficial if we talk about it from a Muslim, because all of this stuff is nonsense.
No, but it affects the psyche of us, because we're obviously in this society as well. It does because
this is why, like, when you this is like a microcosm of why when people hear feminism and as men, sometimes you go because it's like it's the what about me-ism of the whole situation.
Everybody wants to be a victim. What about my plight? What about my issues?
Don't okay. It's not even that everybody wants to be a victim. It's more like nobody wants anybody else to claim to be a victim.
Yeah, because they're saying that
for what they deem as normality or normal life. Because, do you know what I mean? So, like, nobody's going to hear anybody say, why do I have to go to school? Like, shut up. We all have to go to school, innit? So, like, nobody wants to hear that, innit? So, yeah. So,
it's fitra, innit? Yeah. So, even like the examples that you give, major 99.9% of men are the ones who have died in war. So what? So you think the solution is to send your women to war?
100%.
So, but it goes against intelligence. It goes against your fitra. So even people who aren't even Muslim, or societies, like even non-Muslim societies, have understood that the men are the ones who go out for war. Yeah. So no society up until today, in the last like 100, 200 years, had now decided that actually no, men and women are completely the same, and whatever man can do, women can do. No. So this is why I say that both. It's reading on watching the Red Pill. Yes, you have a lot of sympathy towards these guys, and
why wouldn't you? You're human. Anyone would.
But
for these individual
to draw
cases.
a string and say, so therefore, we need equality and whatnot. Then it's silly. It's silly because we're not the same. We're not.
You guys might disagree with me, but I feel personally, as Muslims, you got a rule book on how to live life, and nothing has been. To say that there's certain stuff that is missing from our religion because we live in society and we can look at society and its modern day or whatever I don't feel that doesn't apply. To feel that
no one would disagree with that. No one said.
So what?
I completely agree.
In regards to, like I said, if we're talking about the rights of a man, again, I feel like it just comes back to the rights of a man in regards to Islam. All of this nonsense is society, and to say that we're naturally going to be affected by society, I don't think that's...
Do you know why? Do you know why I think the bridge comes where Islamically, the rights, or there's lots of bridges, but one of the bridges is where Islamically the rights of a man, because feminism naturally will clash with the ideal Islamic home in terms of the ideologies, the gender roles that are specified for it. So the bridge comes where feminists and society start to try to change the dynamic of what a Muslim home should be, or when people become sympathetic to the the ideals and the
but
but the thing is, but it happens. So what we've said here that like remember you said Ustad when you were saying there needs to be more, the men's rights, men needs to be more of a thing. The reason that is coming.
Who said that?
AW is that and not. It was said in I guess more tongue in cheek, but it was because of the fact that nowadays men are so quick or having to be or made to feel so quickly or so quick to avoid being too strong in demanding their own rights because it will make them seen as basically a feminist nightmare, if you get what I mean, a nightmare to the modern woman. And the modern woman, if she wants to be the modern woman, she can never subscribe to the ideals of the Islamic household because it doesn't align with the modern woman. So I guess that's
and the modern man as well.
And exactly, and even the modern man and what's becoming the modern man and what the way the modern man has been trained to think due to society, due to feminism.
Parade is wife, parade is girlfriend.
Doesn't align itself. So when we talk about this red pill thing, for example, the reason it's brought up is the way I see it is when you look at the extreme. And it shows the stupidity of both sides, and it shows the fundamental flaw in both sides, and the fact that anyone who's aligning themselves to anyone who's gone to that hill and wants to die on either hill is a clown, because all these things are just shifting narratives that in 100 years you look like an oppressor today. In 100 years you won't look like you'll look like the oppressed, and people are so. Firm on these that this is, but
it's because they've set up paradigms that can't be consistent. It's the same as so what I find in today's society is quite funny. Obviously, different topic, slightly different topic is gay rights versus transgender rights, right? So you have people who obviously these are obviously non-Muslims who were ascribing to gay rights and pushing the barrier and saying that love is love and all that kind of stuff, right? And using that to justify the fact that there's no moral issue in conducting same-sex relationships. But there are some people who ascribe to that notion, but then reject the notion of transgenderism, like where a guy can just feel, oh, I'm a woman now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because in my mind I'm a woman, but obviously biologically I'm a man. Because those guys, the transgender kind of lobby, they're using the exact same logic or paradigm that the gay rights people are using. They're saying that it has nothing to do with it is what I feel inside is what is most paramount. So they're now conflicted. So you have people like Piers Morgan, all these other people who they can't reconcile that the transgender issue completely, even though because they've opened the door to it with gay rights. So if gay rights get their rights, then transgender rights have to by virtue of that paradigm, have to get those rights as well. And that's why they find themselves in the pickle.
And where does it end?
This is it. So you see that it's not Muslims that are having to refute transgender issues. It's the right, or the people who are seen on the right of politics, it were, who are having to refute them because And it's just they wind themselves into different kind of models, man. And then this is where you see the beauty of Islam, because it's aligned with fitrah. It's aligned with with the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us. All these guys are just trying to create different models and different kind of systems that they think will bring out benefit, because they think it's going to bring benefit. They think that 50-50 will bring benefit.
Society,
No, but if you're saying 50-50, it can't be consistent. You guys talked about maternity leave before, and generally I understand why maternity leave is there, or the laws governing maternity leave. So if a woman goes to maternity leave, the company can't have to bring her back into a role that she was in before she left. Yeah. So she can't suffer in her career in terms of her job title just because she went on maternity.
What did we say about that, bro?
I think you talked about it before.
Did we say it was a problem?
No problem. I didn't say problem. Okay. I'm saying that just generally that notion. I understand the logic behind it. I understand that obviously it benefits women, and it kind of encourages them not to completely do away with their careers, right? But I'm saying that if you want to live in a 50-50 society, why are you creating artificial structures to protect the woman? Because it's not men. It's not because men are oppressing women that this situation happens. It's because biologically she has to. When she's pregnant, she can't work. When she's had a baby, she can't work. It's not misogynistic society that created that system. Yeah. No, it's biology.
Yeah.
But so yes, I agree with it. Yes, there needs to be that element of balance, right, or equity, as it were. Everything's not equal. You have to make things equitable. But it's the notion that you just want to completely ignore reality. And on the just speaking about the more extreme side of the red pill and these men's rights activism and whatnot, is this new thing called men going their own way. So this is even more extreme, ultra extreme, where these guys see women as the complete devil, like everything.
Are they gay?
It's not gay. They're not gay. They're saying that.
Maybe they're the guys that see women as objects then.
Not even that. Not objects. They see them as complete devils. Like all they're doing is so from their paradigm, women have created this society where all they do is they trick you into getting married to them so that they can have children, and you have to then use all your resources to take care of her. So from their perspective, the fact that a man is a man, taking care of his family and being the head of the family and going to work and all that kind of stuff, is a feministic society where the woman has forced the man to go out there to go and fend for the family. So it's all about perspectives. Whereas we know that it's a part of our fitrah. What? So you want to stay at home and chill and do nothing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's all a mess, man.
I wanted to quickly do one last, because we only got like 5 minutes left, so this will be the last thing from me. Is that when it comes to feminism, I think my biggest issue, and I guess biggest issue with it on the whole anyway, is when it demonizes men, especially, and this is I guess where the clash comes with a lot of the time with Islam, demonizes men for either being or just seeking what is normal, and demonizes women for being happy to fall into what is normal. And I guess it's more of a warning from me anyway, and anyone can latch onto this if they want, is that this is why when it comes to like Muslim brothers, Muslim sisters, why you just can't align yourself with these type of isms, because the contradiction is just so clear and so strong that I think that you need to run away from it and be like steadfast and run away from it, and don't be. I'm not saying go wild. Don't go out with a microphone and go in the House of Parliament and start screaming at them. But don't be apologetic in living and subscribing to the Islamic paradigm or way of living, because there's no issue with it. But and society will trick you into thinking there's an issue with it, and it's a big fitna that's on especially like the younger our generation, because we're literally being beaten by it, and like, it's all we're hearing. It's everywhere. It's in the offices. It's in the billboards. It's on TV. It's everywhere. I
think it's because it's unprecedented.
Yeah,
it's unprecedented because, again, as I said, in non-Muslim societies like of Asian, these things weren't even an issue. It's almost like there was ijma even amongst the non-Muslims and Muslims that this is the role of a man, the role of the role of everyone knew. Yeah. It's just now people are trying to then push the meter. Now, at what point of life or what part of the world did people start to say, "Oh, a woman is not a woman and a man is not a man"? Do you know what I mean? So that's why I think we need to remind our youngers and whatnot of that fact, because it's logical as well. So the fact that you think, because there's certain things. Because we grew up in the UK, we grew up in the West, that generally if you upon hearing in the Quran or in the Hadith, that you might think, oh wow, that doesn't align with the moral kind of society, which is natural. It doesn't align with it. But then, what do you do after that? Do you then start to question and start to doubt that this is oppressive towards women and this is oppressive towards men? No, you realize that this is coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger, and they know what is best for us. You think Allah is prescribing something that's not the best for you, so it's knowledge. It's knowledge, and it's about being reminded about that fact.
Remember the West, the best thing though, the West are very good at convincing you that what they are saying is right. They're very good at it. So they're good at what they've done. Is words like civilization and
civil society.
Yes, but that word civil is
subjective.
Is completely subjective. But they will convince you that their ideal is correct, even though their ideal changes every 10 years.
Of course.
So remember that, innit? So just look back. Look, history is the best teacher. The fact that these civilized people their version of civilization has changed a 1,000 times in 1,000 years, tells you that. We haven't even touched on that.
At the end of the day, Islam was brought perfect. Yeah, we already have a guide. We don't need to look anywhere else. Society can whatever take us away from the path, but at the end of the day, we have the religion to bring us back to the right path. And may Allah guide us all.
I mean,
you look at Christians, or you look at even Christians of 200 years ago are more aligned morally with Muslims of today than their Christian counterparts of today. Yeah, you know what I mean, yeah. So it just, as you say, it's the flavor of the day, and morality can't change based off of your time and place. And I think that's the reason why Islam gets not a bad rap, but why it's the most highlighted religion in the world, because we, alhamdulillah,
remain steadfast to
we defy it. We're saying no, that this is what we're going to be doing. This is from from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. So we can't reject it. Well, whereas with the Christians or with other religions, let me say the Christians in particular, it's easier for them to fine tune their. It's easier for them to do that, and it's not as difficult for them to kind of shift as the times go.
And this is why we're so protective.
Of course, yeah,
it's necessary,
but there's balance with it as well. Don't get too
of course.
Thinking with it. But yeah, alhamdulillah. But yeah, before we finish off, I just want to say Jazakallah khairan for inviting me on. You guys have been doing this quite consistently. I think since last year, right? This time last year?
Was it August?
No, it was
August.
It was September, October.
Yeah. So yeah, alhamdulillah, Jazakallah for all the content on a weekly basis. It's
it's an hour and 26 minutes. We just make it to hour and 30 and talk about wellness.
Don't worry, something's coming about that. Don't worry.
All I'll say is that if you guys can obviously just make sure that you provide Jollof to your actual guests when they come, that'll be good, yeah. Just so that I don't know. I mean,
who's just
Jollof here, because it's called Jollof after Jummah. If there's no Jollof here,
I know he rehearsed that.
Well,
he definitely rehearsed that joke.
It's not a joke. I purposely. There needs to be Jollof.
Bring Jollof then.
No, you guys are here. I'm a special guest.
You just thanked us for you. What? So we're giving you this content. You said thank you. Is it words? Is words? Is that what you got for us?
So you only want praise? Is it? Swear down. This shows the intention.
I'm cutting out your response anyway. I'm cutting out your response.
Kind of like you give one feed. This guy. When I was saying that, mashallah, you guys were beaming. See, you have to check your intentions, guys. Honestly, man. But yeah, alhamdulillah, man. Shakallah khair.
This guy ain't coming back here, man. You got a bath to wash anyway. It's the bath washer, everyone.
I'll show you a video right now. Yeah, hold on. Actually, no.
It's not gonna make the edit anyway. One thing, obviously, obviously the fact that this is the last scheduled episode before Ramadan. We're going to be going on a little hiatus. That doesn't mean that we're not gonna have anything for the people. There may be some surprises in store, inshallah, for you guys. But in terms of the weekly standard episode, we are going to be putting that on pause for Ramadan, because we feel it would be, just together we decided it would be good to allow the listeners to focus on what is most beneficial in Ramadan. That's going to be focusing on your Quran and your any various Islamic studies that you're going to be covering. So why are you laughing? Why are you laughing?
I'm
looking at him. Oh, did you disagree with the decision?
No. You said it is what it is. I'm just being pedantic. It's fine.
Well, no. Oh, okay. You're just being you. Okay.
That's fine. What? Nothing.
Yeah. So
you said what will be most beneficial. So wait, this is the beneficial.
And do you know? I knew it, and I knew that's what he meant. I knew it.
I didn't say anything.
You didn't have to.
You said it will be more beneficial. This is a beneficial.
So more.
I knew that's why he was asking.
So the term more beneficial is
obviously it's Ramadan.
I didn't even say anything. Honestly, bro. Honestly, all I did was
you've said what you need to say now.
Because you asked me. You asked me for my opinion. Now you would have complained.
Yeah, you know what? It's Ramadan.
I agree with you. I agree with
him.
And also, just to further qualify my statement, even though it doesn't need to be further qualified, is that from I'm going to do it anyway. One second. From our point of view, it would obviously, with regards to recording and getting the content out and everything that goes around it, we would like to also focus on
That's
doing
what
the
I
most
thought you were going to
benefit.
say. Like, it's actually benefit for you to for you guys to take a step
man,
back
but
and whatnot.
I think it's
but,
benefit both for both
It's both
parties.
ways.
It's both ways.
Listeners,
But you didn't say that
should be-
until.
you should
But
be-
I'm talking about
Primary was.
yeah, but as in
You don't want to
who
waste any time during
who am I accountable to?
To Allah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I don't,
so that's
I
what
don't
you should have. Just what you should have.
do I need? But I'd rather my intentions before in terms of what I do for Allah remain between, or where possible remain between
You and
you and
Allah.
Allah. And
You
when
need to
you
understand that
yeah.
during Ramadan, you don't want to waste any time. And
Yeah, so-
you also don't want to. You don't know if you're going to see any of Ramadan.
Yeah, for sure,
So-
for sure. No, for sure. Honestly, I agree with you that it's best if you just. Oh Lord! Because this is the act of worship as well. So if you did want to carry on doing this,
I don't think
it's
it's
not
a
the
problem.
best. Like obviously,
I don't think it's a
there's other things
problem.
you can do, but yeah,
I don't think it's a
And that's
problem.
the point. It's just because it's not the best way.
it's not the best. Yeah, that's what I said.
And remember, I said it's not like you're not gonna not hear from us at all, inshallah.
Inshallah.
So yeah, we got something.
More
We
stories
got
for the
something.
back.
We got
I don't
something.
think it's enough to
We got some stuff for you, inshallah. We got some
Inshallah,
stuff.
inshallah.
On that note, that's
It's a wrap.
Yep. We pray that your Ramadan is a successful one. We pray that we all achieve forgiveness in the month of Ramadan. We pray that we're not one of those people in the dua of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam who see Ramadan and do not achieve forgiveness. Make sure achieve your targets. If it's finishing the Quran once or twice, make sure you hit it. Stay consistent. Stay steadfast. Find
There's that breakdown of how you can complete the Quran.
yeah.
Read a certain amount of pages after you salah. I think it's 4 pages after you salah. Complete the Quran. It's important to stay consistent. 'Cause
And if you're not
it's easy to slip up after one salah and then it becomes homework. So
Yeah.
just stay consistent.
And if you're not somebody that fast, try it out because we don't know. Let's not assume that everybody is perfect. And just make dua to Allah. Pray that He makes it easy for you. And yeah, man. Inshallah, the mosques are open. Taraweeh, I think I'm getting signs that I think a lot are going to be open.
Yeah, I think
Try and hit the masjid as much as you can. Because as we know, we might not get the opportunity. So yeah, all that stuff. Sorry, Dola, go on.
Also, you're abstaining from eating. Try and also do the bits that are more easier to neglect, like staying away from idle speech. You don't know. Like obviously, when it's Ramadan, even those that don't usually strive to do their best outside Ramadan, they don't listen to music or drink or whatnot. But as well, like it can be easy to fall into stuff like idle speech. Just the measly sins that you think are
time wasting.
Don't also let anybody
Animes and stuff.
don't let anybody tell you that you doing something in Ramadan means that you're only doing it because Ramadan. Like, make your intention, be sincere to Allah, and whatever things you pick up during Ramadan, if with Allah's will, you continue doing it.
Try and change during Ramadan. Adapt yourself so that you can continue that after Ramadan.
Take us out. Take us home.
Bismillah. Go on, Ibrahim.
Oh, I hate this guy. This guy so much.
He's a jarring guy.
What did I do, bro? Come on. I was agreeing with Dullah. Like, you disagree with what he said?
No, I don't.
It's not like that. I don't know. So weird.
Alright, solid people.
No socials.
Yeah, no, the social, man.